Alright guys, check it out. So we've done some surgery. We've gotten this one a lot thinner, and we got this one a little bit thinner. Then we widen these, and it will slide right on there. Now the idea, and what it says in the instructions, is that you're fitting this top piece right here. And that you have to slide the back piece to fit this top piece. So what they suggest is that you mark it off on pencil. And what we're going to do is see if we can slide this a little back and forth to make it fit a little better. Because we're going to try and minimize the gap to either side, you know? See if we got it centered. Look like we're right down the center, but we got a nice little gap over here. But it's fitting pretty well. And we got gaps in front of this piece, which they said it's okay. Guys, there it is. It's on. We're going to come back and fix a lot of these gaps. Like there's gaps right there. But, this is on and it's straight. We'll come back in, later, and we'll fix these gaps right here. There's a gap on this side too. By putting plastic card in there, and then once you put it on, we'll make sure that we sand it to where you don't see those gaps anymore. Those gaps will actually go away. But it's a good fit. It's a nice snug fit. So like, for example, this is where the troops hang out. That's the troop bay right there. And then there's a little deck right there where the commander sits and stuff, and then and that's that. But the next step that we have to do, believe it or not, is putting on the dang wings. So man, I'm not sure about doing this by myself. I might need to call a friend over to help me out, because this is going to be a monster. But hey, I'm pretty happy with how we're done so far. It'll be good to let this set to the side and get a chance to dry. Oops, sounds like some of my super glue might have touched onto my little door here a little bit. Yep, that's exactly what happened. If you can hear my dog sneezing down there. Anyway, we'll clean that up and that won't be no problem. Alright guys, before we move on here to the next step, because actually the next step is putting the wings on. Now we're going to go ahead and fill some gaps, and that's really important. If you see right here, there's a gap that's going to be visible when the model is complete. So we want to make this gap and this gap disappear. But we can't forget about the gap inside here and the gap inside there, because they will also be visible. Because when you look down in the cockpit, this is the auxiliary cockpit where all the crew sit. There's just a cover that goes over the top of this. So what I've done is a traditional traditional fill. If you see the black stuff in there, that is actually, let's see if we can zoom in. Go nice and slow so we stay focused. Alright, the black stuff in there is actually the JB weld. And if you remember, we JB welded in there, and then what I've done is I've gone back in, and you can see the clear stuff here, and that is just straight up super glue. So as the super glue dries, it'll fill across the hole, then we're going to come back and sand it across and get a nice smooth finish here. Hopefully you won't be able to see, but we won't actually even know that until we go in and put in our primer coat, which will then require us to come back in and fill in any holes to make this totally smooth across the front. I've taken my sanding stick like this, and I've sanded across the front to make sure that all this is even across the front of the model. And so that's how we're going to deal with these little gaps, just like that. Now, when we come in, let's back up a little bit. There we go. We're going to come in now to do the big gaps. If you look right here, this is a significant gap. And it would take a lot of super glue, and if you can see, we're going to have to fill it all the way back to there. And so that whole thing is going to require some filling and sanding to make that seam. If we did that with super glue, we could be here a month. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to take some plastic card, and we're going to take the plastic card and we're going to slide it in there. Now I have different thicknesses of plastic card, so this one probably a little too thick. Let's see if I can find another one. But the idea is this. We're going to take the plastic card, we're going to put it in there, just like this, and then we're going to cut it off, and then we're going to glue it. Now, I've done this before in a previous video, and basically that video will show you, like, here's what the plastic card looks like in the packet, right? Sheet styrene. And then what we'll do is we'll just take it and slide it in there, and outside the packaging, of course. And then what we'll do is we'll end up clipping it off as close as we can, and then we'll come back in and we'll sand these edges, and then it'll actually be smooth. And then what we'll do toward the end is we'll start putting super glue over the top of it to actually fill in any little holes or gaps, and then it'll just become one seamless blob. So after the fact, this should curve straight around, and you won't be able to see the line there. Over here, not as important, but out here, it's real important because this is a big old hole. So is that going to be enough? You know, is that going to be enough plastic card? And that looks just actually pretty good. So maybe this one and the thin one on top of each other. And then we'll come in and we'll snip the top of this off to match the pattern here. And then we'll fill this in. This wing is just going to be canted down. There's nothing I can do about it. Because of the fact that this resin is so thick, you can't heat it enough to push it up to this. And now some people have told me, well, you know, I reached out to a few people and they're like, put your big part in the oven. Yeah, that's not happening, cuz. You know, I spent too much money on this to put this sucker in the oven and run the risk of losing it. But, you know, if I could heat it and smush these two together, you know, I would. But in the end, it doesn't match. It doesn't matter. Once the front end fits on there, you're not going to see all this anyway. Another place where we're going to fill is back here. You can actually see that there is a huge gap right there. But here's the benefit of this. Here's a piece of board right here, sheet styrene, and it fits perfectly. So basically what we do then is we cut this out. You know, we're going to cut this piece out to match the contours as best we can, and then we'll sand them flat, and then we'll just keep filling it in with sheet styrene until we've matched all the contours, and it looks like one piece. And so let me see if I can turn that so you can get a look at it this way. But that's what it's going to look like. This pops right down in there, and we'll trim it up, and then we'll fill that gap. And so you'll probably end up doing like a layered effect, you know, with two of these in there. Like this side needs two, but this side does not. And so that way it'll there won't be a gap. And that's what we're gonna do. Also, we had the sand up here pretty good. So now that when everything fits in there, it'll look good. This is another place that needed to be sanded. And the super glue's still dry, and I just rubbed my finger in it. But that's it for now, dudes. Let's work on that some and get these gaps filled, and I'll film as we go. Alright guys, here's the work in progress. As you can see, this is the lid right here. And we're working this part to where it has a little backstop right there. So that it tightens up the fit of the lid. So we're going to back out so you can see the whole thing, because we're going to come in here and we're going to fill that gap with some plastic card, but we want it to have a backstop back here so that it'll fit real nice. So hopefully by the time we get done with this seam will not be as visible as it is now. It'll look like one solid piece. And then this is filling in the gap right there. So you can see that there was kind of a big gap right there, and once we get it down to the body, you know, once we glue it in and start sanding on it, it's going to actually sand in, and it'll be seamless. You won't even know it's there once we paint it. So here we go. All right, guys, check this out. We got the Dremel out. We're going to start sanding this piece down right here, and we're just going to take our time, man. I've got a little sanding bit on there. And we're not going to be in a hurry. We're not going to try and get it right to the line. But if you can see, we're just working off the edge and smoothing it down. I have two Dremels. I have one that you plug into the wall, that is the one you saw earlier cutting the big bits. This is a battery powered one because it doesn't run as fast. It basically it isn't the same horsepower, you know. And so what allows me to do is to do stuff like this, a little bit more precision work, without the bulk moving of plastic that that the other one does. Because that other one will chop some stuff right in half, dude. It don't even mess around. It's moving at such a high RPM. But the more I can do with this, the less I have to do with the sandpaper. And that will make me happy. Alright, we're using Gorilla Gel Glue. And the reason why we use this gel glue is it dries a little bit slower. So that we can position the piece a little better. We're going to put some on the, let me see, we're going in like this. So we're going to put some on this side. And on the bottom. Ooh, that's a little too much. Alright, there you go. You saw it happen in action. The glue instantly adhesed once it touched the resin. While I was going to slide it in, you know, I was trying to use my gel glue so it would give me a minute to maneuver the piece, but as it was, as soon as it touched the resin, it stuck. So that's a problem. It's not really a problem. It's not really that far offline. I was able to get all the excess off, and then the top will still fit on with my little brace piece that I wanted. That's okay. Now I just need to have a little bit more of this to bust out than I wanted to. But let's do it and see what happens. All right, guys. Now we're gonna take our sander and we're going to sand this pretty much just like this. We've gotten most of the stuff off, and we're just now going to try and get it flush with the edge. Now I don't want to sand the resin. I want to sand the plastic, and I want to try and get this even across the top, so it's slow going. I wasn't counting on the super glue sticking like it did, but hey, it did. So now we have to adapt. So we're going to start down here where it's the thinnest. Okay, here we go. That's done. What I've done is basically I took it and I sanded it flat, and then I added a little super glue, and then I sanded that flat, then I added a little super glue, and then what I moved to is a Micro Mart. Micro Mart has these little sanding pads of various grits, and they start out as a rough grit and they go all the way down to basically it's smooth. So like basically, in what it is it'll make it feel like here's a 3200, and that'll basically just return the shine to stuff. It takes out all the little micro scratches and things, and then you just keep sanding it down with the progressively smaller or finer grit, and then it comes down to being real smooth. Now you can see like that notch right there, but that notch right there is going to disappear when we paint over it because it's full of super glue, and that actually it comes out to about here with the edge. So all these little gaps that you might see right there are actually, when you run your finger over them, they're smooth. They're really there's no gaps. It's all smooth. And so when you actually end up putting on the engine cowl, you're not even going to see that split anyway. So I mean, we'll know it's there, but that's what you're going to get. And then when you look down the thing, it doesn't even look like it's there. So we're going to do the other side, and then we're going to come back and do the fronts. Hey guys, Aardvark here, and I hope you've been enjoying the videos. We've had lots of progress so far, and actually there's a ton more progress that you haven't seen yet. The videos are pretty much backlogged, so I've decided to go to a once a week release until further notice, and that way I can get out all of the information that I have backlogged right now. The model has progressed a lot further than what you see here in the video. Look, Kat wants to be in the video. What's up, Kat? She's purring like crazy. The model has progressed a lot further than what you see, but I'm not going to spoil it. You know, all I can tell you is that this thing is huge, and it's hard to work with on your workspace. So you should have, if you're going to buy one and you're going to put it together, you better have a large workspace to get it done. And a lot of patience. Yeah. So, anyway, what I wanted to do in this video was talk about a couple of the comments that were made by people. I wanted to acknowledge the people who took time to comment. And one is K Sweeney 36. He commented on the last video, or she, it might be a she, on part 5, said that thanks for the great videos. That's a model I could only dream of having. It's fun to watch the journey. Like all great journeys, sometimes you have hiccups along the way. Can't wait for the next one. And that is so true there, K Sweeney. The fact is that this model has been a challenge, but nothing that we can't handle. You know, we take a little, some patience, some dry fitting. We make sure that we put in the, time to make sure the parts fit right, and then get it together. As far as owning one, if you for sure wanted to own one, I would tell you to do like I did, which was I knew I wanted to have one. It took years, and I had to surf eBay until one came up that was in the price range that I wanted. Mantas don't come up on eBay very often. They're kind of hard to find. I don't believe that they've sold that many around the world. And it's good to get one that's like mine, an early production that hasn't been assembled. Since making this, starting this video, I've actually met one other person in Baton Rouge. They have one also, but it's unassembled. So I keep trying to talk them into getting theirs assembled and painted so we could play them together in an apocalypse game. So I don't think there's ever been 2 Mantas on the table at one time together. That would be simply amazing. But what we have is another comment from Joff Recordin. And he put a comment on video 4 asking if I could show the doors open and close on the back of the Manta, and I sure will. And the good thing about that, Joff, is the fact that I'll be able to show you that and how to take the ramp out and put it in. That's actually the part that I'm working on right now. So if you just hang on for maybe the next video, I can get some good video of that in there. And I'm also going to tell you about the problems that I've had. There's been 1 or 2 issues with the back door in that super glue has gotten in there, and then I had to try and make a repair and accidentally glued the doors shut twice. So twice I've had to pop them off, scrape off the glue, and then re-engage. So what I'm doing is I'm scrolling up one more. All right, here we go. We have one from 10K Painting Studios. Says awesome work so far. Can't wait to see the finish. Following closely for when he orders his very own. Very nice. 10K Painting Studio has a YouTube page, and you should go check that out. They've got some nice stuff on their page, talking about the different kinds of wargaming stuff. And it looks like they've got some Titan videos and some Blood Angel Army updates, and he builds wooden ships. That's pretty sexy. Man, that's something. That's like one of those museum quality ships. So definitely go check him out. 10K Painting Studio. But Dave the Pack asked 10K Painting, talking about, made a comment to 10K Painting Studios that he has one, and that it's usually used as a display piece because it's too big, to play in the game. And I agree with Dave. This thing is huge. I'm gonna suffer for a place to store it, but I'll figure out something. This was one of my dreams, is to have one of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a way to make the display stand that I can also use it during games. And now I'm telling you, during games, you're going to struggle with this thing because it is ginormous and heavy. And if you build a dilapidated flight stand, then you're going to have problems. You know, you're going to have to build something that's both functional and sturdy. So something that you can use and slide in between terrain pieces, and it will hold the weight of the model. And I'm not sure exactly how much this model is going to weigh in the end. We're going to get a scale and we're going to try it out. So other than that, Broken Minis said that the videos, you know, the Manta looks good. Keep them coming. And Curo Rangulus. That is quite a screen name you got there, bro. It said he wrote it looks great, and I sure appreciate it. But man, is that a ginormous screen name you got there, bro. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna round out this video. Remember, I'm gonna be publishing videos every week now, and we are heading into the home stretch. You know, I've got the Manta very far along. I'm working now actually on the bottom, getting the drawer to fit properly. And I'm going to not spoil it and let you wait for it. But, you know, some things I said early in the part 1 of the video are coming true now. Having to deal with that drawer and getting it all in there properly. Yeah. So, just to let you know, yesterday, which was September 18th, I made my pre-order for the Tau Super Giant Crisis Suit of Justice. The you know, from Forge World, the new Titan Forge World Crisis Suit that they have coming out. I don't even know the name of it, but I had to have one. My friends are calling it the Compensator Crisis Suit. You know, the one, it's got the giant super cannons and stuff. So we will be doing a build on that, hopefully as soon as I can get this done. It's on pre-order, should be in mid next month. I hope to be done with this thing in a few weeks. You know, once we get the drawer on, I can put some of the back pieces on, and then it's just a bunch of little fiddly bits, a bunch of the burst cannons and paint. You know, then I can get it all cleaned up. I'll do my final sanding to make sure I have all my seams taken care of and knocked out. And a little word of advice: if you go look online at some of the built Mantas that you'll see videos on, especially on YouTube, you know, I wouldn't for myself, haven't paid as much as this as I did. I would not be satisfied with a job where you put it together, you paint it, and there's still blatant seams showing and, you know, and things of that nature. Now, if I had paid somebody to put one of these together and there were seams showing, I think I would just have aneurysm. So be careful in your painting. You know, if you buy one of these, decide to have someone else put it together, make sure they're a reputable person that have experience putting together this type of product, and then make sure that if they put one together before, ask to see pictures of it. And if you see seams and gaps, you either address it with them then and say, look, I better not see any seams or gaps, or move on to somebody else. That's my advice to you. So without making this too long, I'm going to tell you right now, signing off from 19th Legion, see you again in 1 week.